Sairam.
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 Awesome. Everybody's awake and it's a new day. Super Bowl. Super Swami Day. Awesome. Okay, first thing, newcomers. Are there any newcomers today? Okay. So we got sandwich preparation coming up after the program gets over. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are days of tutoring and the homework enrichment program. And obviously you're aware of it, but if you do wish to participate, one of the things that I'm told by Vignesh is somehow the activities in support of homework enrichment is somehow not as stimulating and not enough people sign up for that. So being such a good qualified center, I thought maybe others might want to fall in line and do that. And the 9th is the Thursday, and we have the Sunnyvale Armory service, and that's a regular program, as you know. Now comes the quiz time. February 24th. Why is that special?
Shiva.
Awesome. So with that, because whose center is this? And? It's our center because Swami is in us. Therefore, if you wish to participate, there is a sign-up sheet, and Raghu dear has put something up there. So if you want to sign up and say, I want to bring this or I want to do that, you're most welcome to do so. So feel free, because it is your center and you should participate. I know you folks are all reading the regional communication as well. So who did not get to read it? Okay, everybody read it. So what was new in the most recent communication? Just one point.
Non-profit status that the region has got. The non-profit status that...
Okay, that's one. How about the other one? That's spiritually much more enlightening. Not that the other one isn't. Parthi pilgrimage. So I think at the next week, because of Super Bowl, Swami is suggesting that we do a little more covering, if you will, on the next week, because there will be actions that will come from the Parthi pilgrimage, because more the merrier, right? The Parthi Yatra becomes, everybody's already doing their Yatra, but doing it collectively as a sadhana becomes very powerful. So next week, do count on seeing something more in that arena. Now, before we come to the center officer selection, the young adults also requested that if there be any interest in doing nominations, this is the final week. So says? Today is the last day. So I guess this is the end of the week and that's it. So if you have any brain waves, but it's only by young adults though, right? So a select few can really do something good for the YAs of our center. So please be aware of that. So now comes the next portion, which is center officer selection, and I'm going to ask our good brother here, Mr. Ashok, Professor Kulkarni.
I did. Okay. Sairam, everyone.
Sairam.
So, update, next slide. So we are week 4 of 6 weeks. So we have received a lot of nominations, and I'll put that up at the end. But the floor is open today for additional nominations. So, and the way we'll do that is we'll have people raise their hands, and then Brother Vikram will go around and get the nominations, and then we'll add that to the list. And then the process is during the next week, we hope to hear back from all the nominees, and you'll know who you are in that slide. We'd like to hear back from you after you thought about it, reflected on it, whether you want to accept the nomination or whether you do not wish to accept. Of course, you'll see many people have been nominated for multiple positions, but you'll see the whole picture. So during the next week, we'll also talk to the people individually. If we don't hear back, we'll talk with them, and then we'll confirm the nominations next week, and then the following week, if needed, we'll have a secret ballot for those positions where we have multiple nominations. Okay, so next slide. So here is the rogues gallery of the selection committee. So I'd like them to stand up again so that you know who they are. Brother Vikram, Sister Sandhya, Brother Yogi, Sister Suganti, and myself. Okay, and our emails are here. So we would want the nominees to write to any one of us. We'll be in touch with each other. And then later in the week, we'll also call all of the nominees. We'll kind of split up the workload. Okay, next one. So these are the rules. We'll just flash by them fairly quickly. You've seen them before. Next one. Who can vote? So that's pretty clear now. So next one. So as I mentioned, you'll see that in the nominations that we have received. You can be nominated for more than one position, and you can also nominate yourself or someone else. And all the nominees will have the opportunity to accept or decline their nomination. Next one. So the current officers are all eligible to be nominated, and it turns out they have been nominated. So let's go to the next one. So one of the things we wanted to do during this whole process is to have past coordinators come up and describe their experience that they had when they were filling that role. So we had Brother Vignesh and Brother Giri talk the last 2 weekends. Today we have 3 speakers, so I'll request them to spend about 3 minutes each. So Brother Vish will talk about devotion, Sister Saugandhi will talk about the education coordinator role, and Brother Ranga will talk about the role of the president. Now, what I'll do is I'll actually put up the spreadsheet.
Sure, that's the next slide, right?
Yeah, that's the next slide. Okay, so this, I'm putting this up because you all will have some time to look through it. If the nominations that you submitted for some reason got omitted, because we are scrambling with some late nominations today, then you'll have an opportunity to re-nominate that person or persons at the end of this session. But I'll just put that up, and you can see we have about 48 distinct names. It was a challenge to fit it on one screen, and I thought the best way is to just show it as a matrix like this. So these are people who have been nominated for multiple positions: president, vice president, service, devotion, and education. Okay, so that's the slate right now. So with that, I'd like to request Brother Vish to come and talk about his experience as a devotion coordinator.
Pranams at His Lotus feet. Dear brothers and sisters, I consider this as a great privilege to stand in front of you and share my experience. Brother Kulkarni has given me exactly 3 minutes, so I'll try to contain it. I started my journey in 1996, February 18th, so it's going to be 21 years. A couple of weeks short of 21 years. I started serving in SSC. I had the privilege of working with the late Sri Sharma Garu as an assistant, and then became qualified as a teacher, going through all the trainings and other learnings from the teachers. In about 2009, I was asked to take the role of SSC coordinator. In 2011, I had an opportunity to take the role of devotion coordinator. Both experiences are very humbling. I'm going to talk a little bit about devotion because Sister Sagat is going to talk about SSC. There's a lot to learn. Every day is learning. I'm still learning after the experience. one extra D is what is detachment. That's something which came upon me after I visited Perthi. Brother was talking about Perthi visit also. In 2010, when I went with the USA team, that's why I had a lot of lessons. Maybe another session I can share about all those experiences. We also have to remember the 9 code of conduct and 10 guiding principles. These are all experiences. Everything is an experience. Everything is something really humbling. And Swami teaches you a lot of things during the time period. What happens during the, what happened during my role as a devotion coordinator? I learned a lot of things which I do today in my profession. It requires a lot of patience, and it requires a lot of the keenness to learn. You know, if you're a program manager or project manager, you know that you go through from concept all the way to execution. Swami expects 100% perfect in execution. And he will stand by you all the way. I've gone through many trusted trials and tribulations, and every time, Swami has shown that he is there to help us. Through which what he teaches us to be patient, have the perseverance and all the other sub-qualities that's required, and also helps us to grow as a better human being. The other thing which I did was to enjoy the position also. So one of the things I learned about is Narayan Seva. A lot of people think Narayan Seva is feeding the poor. No, it is not. Swami says Narayan Seva is doing something with love. That's the most important. So being a devotion coordinator, I reflect back on where I came from. I come from a big family. My parents had 8 children. I'm one of the 6 surviving kids. But that means I had 4 brothers and 2 sisters. But here, playing different parts in SAI Center, I won a lot of brothers and sisters. And that came with a lot of love. That's the biggest gain I got being a devotion coordinator. So I will urge all of you to consider this as a great opportunity to serve Swami. He is calling me, it's his call actually, to be able to raise up the level, serve him, and at the same time enjoy what you're doing. I'm sure you will benefit from that a lot. Thank you, Sairam. Any questions? Anything you want to talk about? I hope I'm within the time frame. Other experiences, anything. I'll be very happy to share my experiences. And it may not be something which you look forward to, but at least we can talk about it. I'm always available. And whenever I come to center, despite my travel, a lot of travels, please, and you can also reach me by email or my phone. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, Sairam.
Sister Sairam on education.
Sairam. Swami is speaking through me, okay? Whatever I say, it's all Swami. So, who all knows how to drive a car? You all know what is involved in driving a car. First of all, you have to have faith. And then self-confidence, complete surrender, listen to the surroundings, right? And then if some big rig comes bullying, you stay in your right path, because you have right to stay in your path. This is all required. If you have all this, then you can be an education coordinator. Complete faith and surrender. So, education coordinator is a bridge between the teachers and the center, between the teachers and the regional activities. So, as long as you stay within that communication process, that's all it required. We have awesome, you won't believe it, but awesome unity. Awesome, the great team of teachers. Okay? If you want to become a coordinator, you have all the support from the teachers. As long as you are that bridge between the teachers and the center, between the teachers and the regional, you got it. So we are here to help all the teachers. So don't be afraid, Swami is there. He guides. When you sit in the car, you are not the driver. He is the driver. You say that prayer and sit in the car, and then he takes you where you have to go. But stay in the path. Sairam. That's all I can say.
Sairam.
Sairam.
Sairam. You know, I've really come to appreciate the double call to Sairam from Brother Srinivas. It just reminds me, you know, there are some alarm clocks that I don't know if you have experienced them. They start out soft. It waits for a few seconds and then it goes up another decibel and then keeps going up until you actually wake up. And most of us are extremely happy to be in a blissful state of ignorance, and it takes a leader to sort of, you know, call us to, you know, pay attention. And thank you, Srinivas, for that. Now on to the topic here. Swami has summarized pretty much, you know, all of his teachings in 8 very simple words: love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never. The challenge, though, is they're not really all that simple. They look deceptively simple. They are sutras. They're aphorisms. They're like seeds, and they reveal what really their meaning is only in our day-to-day living and in our meditation, either formally or otherwise. Now, sometimes, though, we might need transformative, experiential, interactive, intensive boot camp. Now, you could almost say a course on transformation, maybe a course on miracles. Being a coordinator in a center such as ours is a course in transformation, a course in miracles. For who? Not for the center. For us who really need remediation work in terms of our journey and our progress. That's why we get called upon to seemingly serve the center in some role. Now, depending on what our state of level of remediation that we need, there are different roles in our center. If you just can observe some things and then pick up the lessons from that, you get to be a VP, Vice President, as Brother talked to us last week. Then maybe next is service, and then education. And if you want a little bit of fireworks and sparks, devotion. Now the ultimate is, of course, the president, okay? And as the president of this center, and such as a large center like ours, in a wonderful region like ours, Swami definitely makes sure there is always a steady supply of challenges. Sometimes it is, how is the team working together, or maybe not working together. Pretty much every member has a perspective and a view on whatever topic it is that we take. And of course, sometimes we can have region troubles. You know, region wants us to do something, maybe the center doesn't want to do that. So there's plenty of challenges, but the most important challenge of all that I learned through the role that I had the fortune to play is that the biggest challenge is one's own ego. Each of us have a sense of who we are and what we're all about, what we stand for, what we don't stand for. Guess what? That comes and compounds and conflates whatever challenge that we face. And the biggest lesson for me is to learn that we're not really the doer. I'm not really the doer. Swami has scripted it, Swami has choreographed it, Swami is directing it, yet he gives us this false sense as if we are the agents. And the biggest gain, I would say, from serving in a role is that you can actually gain that lesson from this course in transformation. Now, I want to end this with just gratefully acknowledging that how fortunate we are, how incredibly fortunate we are. We just have to read what's going on in the world now to see what the strength and the power and the criticality and the importance of the basic message that Swami has distilled for us: love all, serve all, help out, hurt never. And I don't think there is a better opportunity to take this boot camp crash course than to serve as a coordinator. And the most critical care transformation course is to take the role of a president. And the time is now. Now is always the time. Jai Sairam.
Okay, next slide. This is the last slide. So you must have memorized what was on the previous slide. So anyway, let's go back to that. So what I'd like to do is to first of all ask if any of you had submitted nominations that for whatever reason didn't show up here.
Yes.
Because, yes, please raise your hand and Brother Vikram, if you can. So please raise your hands if something you submitted didn't get in here or got in here wrongly. Yeah, so yeah, maybe you can just.
I had nominated Raghu for the president.
Okay, all right. Any new nominations? We have lots of time. Go ahead.
Avinash.
Avinash, okay. For which one? Education. Is there any
Palanisan.
Yes, please.
What else is he?
Yeah, that's
And in some cases there was only one name. So I'm assuming that we know who that person is. So Prakash, Prakash here?
I assume you guess my name.
Yes. Okay, so all right. And I think Guru Murthy is Guru Murthy. Yes. Okay. All right. Because some people gave both names and some people just gave one. So I just wanted to make sure.
I wanted to nominate Ashwini for vice president. Manjuna.
Can I nominate Manoj for devotion coordinator? Manoj?
Did you get that?
Manoj. Sirisho.
Last.
You have to
Only How much time do we have?
You have enough time, don't worry about
Okay.
that.
So
One thing that you might want to clarify is now you're doing the floor nominations, but they can still get back through the email, right?
Yes.
Because there may be a few people that might feel much more comfortable.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. We were thinking of and doing that, but I think a better idea is if you got, and I don't know whether we can send this out so people know who've already been nominated, or
We can put this on the drive
okay.
and give them a link to see it.
Okay.
Because basically you want to be able to see what's going on.
Send it in the communication, just the snap image.
But that would be a big image.
Just it's your call.
I think it's a much better way if we kind of, because it goes to 400 people, but I think the center is much smaller than that. But those who want to go and see it might be able to see it. I mean, if that's okay by
Yes,
you guys?
yes, that's fine. So during this week, you can still submit additional nominations. And you'll be able to view this list so you know who's already nominated. So you can nominate the same person.
But much more important is be able to nominate somebody.
Yes, yes.
That's much more critical.
Yeah, so we have this next week also to nominate. And then at the end of the next, this week, obviously we have to freeze the process. And meanwhile, we will be talking with the nominees. We'll start that process right now.
Is that okay by everybody? Because it's our center, and I feel you should have the freedom to add rather than refrain from it.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
There's
Okay.
no need to send the list. You nominate if there's two
Yeah.
years.
No, we'll
We
take care. Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So you can always nominate,
Yeah.
and we've got those anyway, redundancy. So we just make sure that it's recorded. Okay. So
People in the back are not able to see. So,
Come forward.
there's a lot of names, I don't think.
There's a lot of names, and I don't think it makes sense for me to read through the names. So I think we'll just post it. I think that would be the best.
I want to nominate Lalita Gunasekhan for service.
Lalita for service.
No, education.
I think.
Come close.
Yeah, Lalita is here for education. Yeah, but for service. Okay. All right. So I think. So we'll close the floor nominations, but it's actually open. You can get on that link, use the same link, and nominate anyone else. But this week, we have to finish the nomination process.
Yeah, what we have from today is Raghunath for president, Ashwini for vice president, Manoj for devotional, Lalita Gunasekharan for service. For SSC, we have Avinash and Narsan.
No, you had Narasimhan also.
Yes, we got it.
Oh, you got
I
it.
got it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
To accept the praise.
Bhajans.